The massive communication towers across Confederation space hummed with desperate energy as they sent out their final message. Admiral Taishka, her crystal body glowing with exhaustion, watched the transmission beam into the darkness of unknown space. Her people were dying, and this was their last hope. The message was simple, but terrifying. The Devourers had come. These weren't ordinary enemies that could be reasoned with or bought off. They were machines that consumed everything in their path, turning entire worlds into gray dust. The Confederation had 47 days before their last strongholds fell. "Please, anyone out there," Taishka whispered as her light patterns dimmed. "We'll give you everything we know about faster-than-light travel, energy weapons, even our medical technology. Just help us survive." The signal raced through hyperspace, reaching hundreds of civilizations. The Zephyrian Empire read it and immediately sealed their borders. The Velcaron Trade Union calculated the odds and decided their merchant fleets were better used elsewhere. The Prothean Assembly didn't even respond. They'd seen what happened to species that fought the Devourers, but in a small corner of the galaxy, on a blue world that most star maps didn't even include, something different happened. Captain Lee Sung was drinking his morning coffee aboard the ISV Horizon when the message arrived. The ship was humanity's first real attempt at interstellar travel. Built from scrapped parts and powered by determination, Lee Sung had seen combat before. 20 years in the Marines had taught him to read between the lines of any distress call. This wasn't just a request for help. This was a species facing extinction. The kind of fight where surrender wasn't an option, and retreat meant death. He called his second-in-command, Commander Parkman, to the bridge. Park had served alongside him in 3 different conflicts on Earth. They'd both seen what humans could do when their backs were against the wall. "Sir, our fleet isn't exactly what you'd call impressive," Parkman said, looking at the tactical display. Earth had maybe 50 ships capable of interstellar flight. Most of them converted cargo haulers with weapons bolted on wherever they'd fit. Lee Sung smiled grimly. "Maybe not. But we've got something these Confederations types probably don't." "What's that, sir?" "We know how to fight dirty." Within hours, Earth's small fleet was preparing for humanity's first interstellar war. They didn't know what they were flying into, but they knew one thing for certain: someone needed help. And humans had never been good at walking away from a fight. The human ships dropped out of hyperspace, looking like they'd been built in someone's garage. Ambassador Cretan tried not to stare as the crude metal vessels drifted toward the Confederation's sleek diplomatic station, where alien ships curved gracefully through space with smooth lines and elegant designs. The human fleet looked like boxers with engines strapped on, weapons stuck out at odd angles, and the heat radiating from their reactors made his sensors scream warnings about unstable fusion cores. "Are those, ... are those ships held together with actual welding?" whispered his aide, a young Eulorian whose bioluminescent patches flickered with shock. Creighton didn't answer. He was too busy trying to figure out how these primitive vessels had survived the journey through hyperspace without exploding. The airlock hissed open, and Dr. Kim Na stepped through with a smile that immediately put every alien in the room on edge. Her teeth were too sharp, too white, and there were too many of them. She moved with the easy confidence of a predator, her eyes taking in everything around her with clinical precision. "Greetings," she said in perfect galactic standard, though her accent made the words sound harsh and clipped. "I'm Dr. Kim Na, Earth's first xenobiology specialist. We got your message about needing some military help." The way she said military help made it sound like she was offering to fix a broken appliance rather than fight an extinction-level threat. Things got worse when General Choi Jae arrived with his staff. The humans immediately spread out around the conference room, not sitting in the designated spots, but positioning themselves near exits and corners. Their eyes never stopped moving, constantly scanning for threats that didn't exist. "So, General," Choi said, pulling out a tablet that looked ancient compared to Confederation technology, Let's talk numbers. How many devourers are we looking at? What's your current kill ratio? How much ammunition do you burn per confirmed enemy destruction? Ambassador Cretan's translator made confused beeping sounds. I'm sorry, could you clarify what you mean by kill ratio? How many of them do you kill before one of your people dies? Explained Colonel Wan Bin matter-of-fact. Basic combat mathematics. If it takes 100 of your soldiers to kill one devourer, that's useful information. The room went silent. Several alien delegates looked physically ill. In Confederation culture, warfare was conducted with precise rules, limited objectives, and careful consideration for all life forms involved. The idea of reducing soldiers to mathematical equations was horrifying. You speak of your own people's deaths as statistics. Cretan's voice cracked slightly. Colonel Wan Bin shrugged. War is just math with explosions. The side that does better math usually wins. Right now, your math says you lose in 47 days. We're here to change those numbers. The aliens realized they might have made a terrible mistake. The briefing room fell silent as Major Eugene clicked through her presentation slides with the same casual tone someone might use to discuss weekend plans. She talked about something called martyrdom operations like she was reading a grocery list, then moved on to scorched earth protocols without missing a beat. So if we can't hold a position, she explained cheerfully, we destroy everything useful and fall back. Bridges, fuel depots, food supplies, communication towers, anything the enemy might use gets blown up. Standard procedure. Commander Vesselt H, whose snake-like body had been coiled comfortably around his chair, began tightening into nervous loops. His species had fought wars, but they were civilized affairs with rules and boundaries. This human was describing something else entirely. When you say total warfare, he asked carefully, you mean your entire species participates in combat? Oh no, Captain Namho laughed, as if the question was amusing. Total warfare means we use everything available to win. Every weapon, every resource, every advantage we can find. If that means civilians help make bullets or grow food for soldiers, sure. If it means turning schools into hospitals and factories into weapon plants, absolutely. The alien delegates exchanged worried glances. In their cultures, war was something that happened between professional military forces while everyone else continued their normal lives. The idea of an entire civilization transforming itself into a war machine was terrifying. But surely you have limits. Pressed a crystalline beam from the hegemony, rules of engagement, protected targets. Captain Namho's expression grew serious. When someone's trying to wipe out your species, the only rule is survival. We've learned that being nice to people who want to kill you just gets you killed faster. Lieutenant Ko Yoon helpfully pulled up historical footage from Earth's wars. The first image showed burning cities and massive explosions. Several alien observers made choking sounds. The gaseous Prenthian delegate actually changed color, his form becoming a sickly green. Are these your military training exercises? The Prenthian wheezed. Training? Ko Yoon looked confused. No, sir. These are actual battles from our history. World War II, the Korean conflict, various regional disputes. We've been fighting wars like this for thousands of years. Major Eugene nodded approvingly. Every human child learns about these conflicts in school. Strategy, tactics, the importance of industrial capacity in prolonged warfare. It's basic education. The aliens stared in horror as more images flashed by. Humans fighting in frozen mountains, scorching deserts, and flooded cities. Always fighting, always adapting, never giving up even when facing impossible odds. Your species has been practicing for galactic warfare your entire evolutionary history, whispered Commander Vesselt H. Pretty much, agreed Captain Namho. We just didn't know it was practice until now. The Kepler 442 system had been beautiful once, with 3 inhabited worlds and bustling trade routes. Now it was a graveyard. The Devourer scouts moved through the debris like mechanical sharks, their dark holes gleaming as they consumed the last traces of civilization. Admiral Taishka watched helplessly from her command ship as Confederation forces tried desperately to slow the machines down. Bright plasma beams lanced out from their elegant vessels, striking the Devourers with enough energy to vaporize mountains. The beams hit perfectly, lighting up the enemy hulls with brilliant flashes, and did absolutely nothing. The Devourer armor simply absorbed the energy, adapting in real time to each attack. Within minutes, the plasma weapons became completely useless. Several Confederation ships were already retreating when the human fleet arrived. Commander Yun Su's voice crackled over the communication channel, calm and professional. Confederation forces, this is Human Task Force 7. We're moving to engage. Recommend you pull back to minimum safe distance. Safe distance from what? Taishka asked. But the humans were already moving. The human ships looked ridiculous compared to the sleek Confederation vessels, like construction equipment, trying to fight starfighters. But as they approached the Devourer swarm, something unexpected happened. Instead of firing energy weapons, the human ships launched what looked like simple metal rods. Kinetic penetrators deploying, reported Commander Yun Su. Tungsten cores accelerated to 12% light speed. Impact in 3.2.1. The metal rods hit the Devourer hulls and punched straight through them like bullets through paper. The machine's adaptive armor, designed to handle energy weapons, had no defense against simple kinetic force. Explosions rippled through the enemy formation as the rods tore through multiple ships at once. Captain Bang Sol's voice joined the communication from his cruiser, the Soul's Hammer. Confirmed penetration on all targets. Following up with nuclear payloads. The tactical nuclear warheads were even more primitive than the kinetic weapons, crude chemical explosives that any advanced civilization would consider obsolete. But the Devourers had never encountered them before. Their armor couldn't adapt to raw explosive force and radiation. Within 20 minutes, the entire scout force was destroyed or retreating. Admiral Taishka stared in shock at her sensors. The Devourers were actually running away, something that had never happened before in recorded history. Commander Yun Su, she transmitted urgently, how did your species know their weakness? The human's response was matter-of-fact and slightly confused. We didn't know anything about them, ma'am. We just used every weapon we had available. Back on Earth, that's usually how you win fights. Hit the enemy with everything until something works. The aliens realized they'd been thinking like civilized beings, trying to fight an advanced technological war. The humans had approached it like cavemen with clubs. And somehow, that was exactly what worked. For 3 months, the human fleet had been pushing back Devourer forces across 12 star systems. The aliens thought they were seeing humanity's full military capability. They were wrong. The massive Devourer main fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a mechanical storm. 10 million units spread across the system in perfect formation. More enemies than the Confederation had faced in their entire history combined. Each ship was the size of a city, their hulls gleaming with the adapted defenses they'd learned from fighting humans. Supreme Chancellor Vexener felt his hope die as the sensors showed the true scale of what they faced. There are too many, he whispered. Even the humans cannot fight this. General Choi Jae stood calmly on the bridge of his command ship, studying the tactical display like he was planning a training exercise. He turned to his communications officer with the same expression someone might use to order lunch. Send the authorization code for Protocol 7 to all human vessels, he said simply. Peacetime restrictions are now lifted. The change was immediate and terrifying. Human ships that had been fighting conservatively suddenly unleashed weapons the aliens had never seen before. Captain Oh Chen's science vessel, the Busan Rising, had been serving as a mobile laboratory. Now it revealed its true purpose. Deploying self-replicating combat nanites, Ojun reported. Target: all Devourer adaptive systems. Billions of microscopic machines poured from the human ship like a silver cloud. But these weren't ordinary nanites. They were designed specifically to corrupt and hijack the Devourer's own adaptive technology. Within minutes, enemy ships began turning their weapons on each other as their systems were rewritten by the human nanites. That was just the beginning. Colonel Park High's heavy cruiser had been holding position at the edge of the battle, seemingly out of the fight. Now it moved forward and began deploying something the aliens had only heard about in theoretical physics papers. Stellar containment devices active, Park High announced. Artificial black hole generators coming online. The space around several Devourer formations began to twist and bend as miniature black holes tore reality apart. Entire enemy battle groups were crushed into nothing, their matter compressed beyond existence. Supreme Chancellor Vexenor's voice cracked with shock and fear. You possess weapons that can destroy planets, and didn't think to mention this in our negotiations. Admiral Shin Wu, the human fleet commander, looked genuinely confused by the question. Chancellor, you asked for military aid against an extinction threat. You didn't ask for our complete weapons inventory. We assumed you wanted us to use appropriate force. Appropriate force. These weapons could crack worlds. Shinwu shrugged. These aren't even our heavy weapons, sir. We're still operating under wartime restrictions, not total war protocols. We're trying to be polite. The alien leadership finally understood the terrible truth. They hadn't rescued a primitive species and given them advanced technology. They had awakened something that had spent millions of years learning to survive on a world that constantly tried to kill everything on it. The alarms on the Confederation capital world had never been designed to handle this level of panic. A massive shadow fell across the sky as something the size of a moon dropped out of hyperspace directly overhead. The Devourer Primarch had arrived. Supreme Chancellor Vexenor watched helplessly from his command bunker as his beautiful world began to die. The Primarch's weapons were beyond anything they'd encountered before. Energy beams that could slice through mountain ranges, and gravity weapons that peeled away sections of the planet's crust like an orange skin. All evacuation ships, launch. Immediately, he ordered, his voice breaking. We have maybe an hour before the planet becomes uninhabitable. The Confederation fleet tried desperately to buy time for the evacuations. Their most advanced warships fired everything they had at the massive machine, but they might as well have been throwing rocks at a mountain. The Primarch didn't even seem to notice their attacks. Then Admiral Kong. His voice cut through the chaos on the communication channels. She commanded the human dreadnought Inchin's Fury, one of humanity's newest and most powerful ships. Her voice was calm, almost conversational. All human vessels, this is Admiral Kang. I'm going to try something stupid. Pull back to minimum, safe distance, and prepare for a massive radiation release. Chancellor Vexenor realized what she intended to do before anyone else. Admiral Kang, no. We can find another way. You don't have to sacrifice yourself for our world. Kang He's laugh came through the speakers, warm and genuinely amused. Chancellor, someone has to die today to save millions of people. Might as well be someone who chose to do it rather than someone who just got unlucky. The human dreadnought suddenly changed course, accelerating directly toward the Primarch. Escape pods began launching from the ship as Admiral Kang ordered her crew to abandon ship, but she stayed at the controls, manually overriding the safety systems. This is Admiral Kang, to all human forces, she transmitted. Tell Earth that we gave better than we got, and tell them that the universe is a lot more interesting than we thought it would be. The Inchin's Fury struck the Primarch at full speed, while its fusion reactors went into complete overload. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. When the light faded, both ships were gone, the first recorded destruction of a Devourer, Primarch, in galactic history. Within hours, something unprecedented happened. 3 different alien species attempted their own ramming attacks against Devourer forces. The Eulorian hegemony sacrificed an entire battle fleet to destroy an enemy stronghold. The Prentian collective drove unmanned ships into Devourer formations with their reactors set to explode. The aliens had learned the human concept of necessary sacrifice, and they found it terrifyingly effective. The war had changed completely. What started as a desperate last stand against extinction had become something else entirely, a methodical campaign to hunt down and destroy every single devourer in the galaxy. The aliens watched in fascination and growing unease as humans transformed the conflict into an industrial process. Captain Ruan's marine units had been deployed to 12 different worlds, training alien ground forces in what humans called proper combat doctrine. The training sessions were eye-opening for species that had never faced total warfare. Your soldiers retreat when they take 30% casualties, Ruan observed during a drill with Confederation forces. That's when the battle is just getting started. The alien commander, a proud warrior from the Zilithian Defense Force, bristled at the criticism. General Corthan has led successful campaigns for decades. We know how to fight. You know how to have battles, corrected Major Song rewatching the training exercise through binoculars. There's a difference. Battles are about winning ground or destroying specific targets. War is about breaking your enemy's ability and will to fight. General Corthan joined the conversation, his scaled features showing confusion. Your training manuals suggest killing everything that might pose a future threat, even after surrender. Major Song lowered her binoculars and looked at him seriously. Not everything, General. Just everything that can't be reasoned with, controlled, or permanently contained. The Devourers are machines programmed to consume all organic life. They literally cannot be negotiated with, and we can't risk them rebuilding somewhere else. The alien officers exchanged uncomfortable glances. Their species had fought wars with clear objectives: capture this territory, destroy that fleet, force a surrender. The human approach was different. They fought wars to solve problems permanently. Meanwhile, human engineering corps were busy across the galaxy. What they called Fortress Terra installations were appearing on every world the humans had helped liberate. The aliens initially welcomed these defensive positions, massive structures with powerful shields and weapons, designed to protect against future devourer attacks. But alien military analysts slowly realized these weren't just defensive fortifications. Each installation was positioned to project military power across entire star systems. The weapons weren't just pointed outward at potential invasion routes. They covered all approaches to the planet, including friendly ones. The humans have built a base that can blockade our entire home system, reported a Eularian intelligence officer to his superiors. They call it protection, but we couldn't leave or receive visitors without their permission. Similar reports came in from dozens of worlds. The liberated planets found themselves under what humans politely called security, assistance, protection, that looked suspiciously like occupation. Human ships patrolled trade routes, human marines guarded important facilities, and human administrators helped local governments make decisions about everything from defense spending to immigration policy. The galaxy was winning the war against the but many species began to wonder if they were simply trading one form of domination for another. The final devourer stronghold was located in a system that had once been home to 6 billion people. Now it was a lifeless collection of factory worlds, where the machines had been building their next wave of conquest fleets. Intelligence reports showed millions of devourer units hiding in underground facilities, waiting for the right moment to emerge and restart their campaign of galactic consumption. Colonel Imda studied the tactical situation from her command ship orbiting the system's edge. The aliens expected a massive ground invasion, months of brutal fighting to clear out every tunnel and bunker. Instead, She authorized something called Solar Protocol. All ships, pull back to minimum safe distance, she ordered calmly. We're going to make this quick. Ambassador Cretan watched in confusion as human engineering ships moved toward the system's star. Colonel, what exactly are you planning to do? We're going to turn their sun into a weapon, Imda replied matter-of-factly. It's the most efficient way to sterilize the entire system at once. The process took exactly 47 minutes. Human ships deployed devices that destabilized the star's core, triggering a controlled solar flare that engulfed every planet in the system. The temperatures reached levels that turned solid rock into vapor. Every devourer facility, every hidden bunker, every single machine was incinerated simultaneously. When the stellar fire finally died down, the system was completely sterile. 6 worlds had been reduced to glowing cinders orbiting a now unstable star. Not a single devourer had escaped. Ambassador Cretan's voice was barely a whisper. Was that response proportionate to the threat? General Wante, overall commander of human forces, looked genuinely confused by the question. Ambassador, proportionate wasn't the goal. Complete victory was the goal. We achieved that. But you destroyed an entire solar system. Yes, and now we're certain there are no more devourers hiding there. If we'd tried a conventional assault, some might have escaped and rebuilt elsewhere. This was thorough. The war was over. Every single devourer in known space had been eliminated, but the aliens quickly realized that peace with humans looked very different from peace with other species. Human construction fleets immediately moved into former devourer territory, building what they called monitoring stations throughout the dead zones. When questioned, Captain Lee Sung explained they were early warning systems designed to detect any future technological threats. The alien leadership quietly noted that these monitoring stations were armed with enough firepower to destroy entire planets. They were positioned to watch every hyperspace route in and out of the galaxy's core regions. Nothing could move through space without human permission. These are defensive installations, asked Supreme Chancellor Vexener during a diplomatic meeting. Absolutely, Captain Lee Sung smiled. We're defending the galaxy against future threats. Can't be too careful. After all, the universe is a dangerous place. The aliens were beginning to understand that humans viewed peace as simply another form of warfare. 6 months had passed since the last devourer died in nuclear fire, and the galaxy was finally at peace. The Galactic Confederation still existed, still held their meetings, still made their decisions about trade routes and diplomatic protocols. But everyone knew who really held the power now. Human bases had appeared on every major world, seemingly overnight. They called them cooperative defense installations, and insisted they were there to help maintain galactic security. The human marines who staffed these bases were polite, professional, and absolutely terrifying in their efficiency. They treated alien dignitaries with the same courteous respect they might show to a loaded weapon, careful, watchful, ready for anything. The latest Confederation assembly was held on the rebuilt capital world, in a gleaming new complex that happened to be located directly under the protective umbrella of 3 human defense platforms. Ambassador Kim Na sat at the diplomatic table with that same unsettling smile she'd worn during first contact, her eyes constantly scanning the room like a predator counting prey. The people of Earth remain fully committed to maintaining galactic peace and security, she announced during her address to the assembly. Our military presence throughout Confederation space ensures that no member species will ever again face extinction-level threats without support. Supreme Chancellor Vexener noticed how she emphasized certain words. Military presence meant occupation. Support meant control. The humans had a gift for making domination sound like friendship. The other alien leaders shifted nervously in their seats. The Eulorian representative hadn't been allowed to leave his home system in 3 weeks, due to what humans called security concerns. The Prenthian Collective had discovered that their trade routes were now subject to human inspection checkpoints. The Zalithian Defense Force had been invited to integrate their command structure with human military advisors. Ambassador Kim, Chancellor Vexener, said carefully, "Many of our member worlds are asking when these security measures might be ... relaxed." Kim Na's smile never wavered. "Chancellor, the galaxy is a dangerous place. We've learned that threats can emerge from anywhere, at any time. It would be irresponsible to lower our guard just because one particular enemy has been defeated." Captain Park Min, now holding the title of Sector Defense Coordinator, sat quietly in the corner taking notes. His daily reports had become the most important documents in the galaxy, determining everything from shipping schedules to diplomatic meetings. Today's report would read like all the others: all sectors secure, no hostile activity detected. Recommend maintaining current force posture indefinitely. After the meeting, the alien leaders gathered in private, speaking in whispers about their new reality. They had called for help against an unstoppable mechanical plague, and received it from the most effective military force the galaxy had ever seen. The Devourers would have killed them quickly. The humans were keeping them alive under a protection that felt increasingly like a velvet prison. The galaxy was safe, secure, and peaceful. Whether it would ever be free again was a question no one dared ask out loud.